Good to go? So my name is Michael Gendre. I teach philosophy and ethics in Massachusetts. And I want to explain to you that something happened that was very detrimental to this wonderful model, the Massachusetts model that was put in place by Dr. Kishore. And as Joachim explained, as he explained, there is a wealth of evidence that the year-long program actually works. The constant care that is provided to the addicts really works, and it's just, it cannot be avoided that this is the model. There are 3 other models that don't work nearly as well in the country: the Pennsylvania model, the Minnesota model, the Florida model, and they're not at-home detox models. So the Massachusetts model is unique. It just provides that. And it provides it by constant care, at-home care with the doctor monitoring constantly for 1 week. Then it's a monthly thing, but there's this awareness of the relapses, and there are non-toxic drugs to stop the relapses. And then there's the year-long health care follow-up that he provides. And at the end of that program, which by the way only costs $15,000 for 1 year for one person, at the end of it, the success is upwards of 38%. So people are sober, essentially, after 1 year of the treatment. So it's an incredibly successful program. Now, 2010, 2011, Joachim explained, something happened. The Attorney General of Massachusetts went after him, and she succeeded in essentially putting him out of business. That's the big problem. We do not have this program running in Massachusetts because of one person, and her name is Martha Coakley. So Martha Coakley went against the evidence of the medical profession. She went against the innovation that Dr. Kishore had brought to this field. The Massachusetts model is recognized nationally and internationally. And she allowed her incompetence and her currying of favors with her party to overrule her better judgment. So I just want to give you a set of numbers, because Dr. Kishore, when the program was running at its full capacity, had essentially almost $10 million in payroll yearly. Almost $10 million. He had 370 employees, and Joachim is one of them. There were 52 sites in Massachusetts, half of them owned and half of them leased. And they were providing, obviously, a set of unique products. The home detox is unique. The testing, the constant testing of the addict, making sure that they knew what was going on, was also essential. And this is unique. Yearly, constant testing. The library, the facility where people feel welcome. And the long-term primary care. That for $15,000 a year. Now, I have been I've looked at methadone clinics, and I've seen the costs, and they're just astronomical for just 3 days, 5 days a week. It just doesn't compare with this yearly thing that really yields results. So I want you to be aware of the fact that there is a model, the Massachusetts model, and that is unfortunately what Martha Coakley and the Attorney General's office actually managed to shut down. Now, the evidence and the data on the year-long trial plus the 4 years after that, where he was waiting for a trial, which eventually happened, and then they put him in jail for 8 months. There's a vast number of facts and data. I had to break it down into 3 phases plus 2, so essentially 5 phases. The first phase is the fall of 2010 until the end of January 2011. So basically, fall was just beginning plus January 2011. Then the end of January 2011 until the end of July 2011. That's where his second lawyer was kicked in. The first phase essentially corresponds to his first lawyer by the name of Libby. The second lawyer's name is Gendre, and Dr. Kishore ended up firing him at the end of July. The end of July, so the third phase now, the end of July until the fall 2011, until the fall of 2011. Now he is in a trap. The mouse, Dr. Kishore, is in the trap, and they're going to keep him there. There are two additional phases. The fourth one is the one that where I think you could show that they were the Attorney General's office. They were trying to delete all the proprietary evidence that he, Dr. Kishore, had secured for his success. They went after his website and they destroyed it. They attacked it. It was out of business. All contact with his patients was lost. Okay? In addition to essentially character assassination, they proceeded to essentially destroy his professional credentials. And they heaped disinformation upon disinformation until the time when, in the fall of 2011, he was essentially on a GPS at his ankle, and his business destroyed, and had to wait for 3.5 years until his trial was in swing. And at that point, the Attorney General made sure that he was not going to be defended by his chosen lawyer, who was not doing a good job, and in fact he was defended by an appointed lawyer, at the end of which he went to jail for 8 months and 4 days. And he's been out of jail since December of 2015, so this full year plus a little bit before and after. So you can see that there is conspiracy against a doctor who was very innovative, that came up with a model, fully recognized model. And that this is very unfortunate because it's denying access to care for a lot of people, as Joachim explained very well. So a lot of people are actually suffering as a result of this destruction, character assassination plus professional destruction that was conducted. Now, it's obvious that she was trying to please some constituents of hers, and that there were people who really wanted access to the customers, to the patients, in order to provide the methadone, because methadone is very lucrative. So why don't they have an option to be helpful? And while unfortunately Dr. Kishore's is much more successful, so we don't want to have that evidence be part of the whole thing. So we essentially try to negate it, or hide it, or get rid of it. So if I go through the various phases, the first, the second, the third, I think you come out with a sense that he was targeted. He was in the bullseye. There's no question about it. And when he realized that all of his attorneys were actually working for the Attorney General, his lawyers were working for the Attorney General. They were trying to tell him to get out, to negotiate, to allow the Attorney General to rule his own business. Now, you need to also understand that there are three parts to his business. There is the primary care, which every of these outfits, in fact, is. Each one of them is that. But you also have the testing. Okay, so he had a testing set of company, I forget the name of them. And of course this was going to be eliminated, and another competitor was going to step in, and if the competitor stepped in, then the competitor had access to the to the patients and do the market, basically. So, and this happened where at one point when in March 29th, 2011, Precision Labs, which was owned by David Fromm, someone probably connected to the Attorney General, sued Dr. Kishore over, quote, unfair and deceptive trade practices. Okay, so this intervention by Fromm is in fact a civil lawsuit that works as a front for the indictment by the Attorney General. But the case is dismissed, and but it is in fact subsequently refiled ex parte, which means unbeknownst to Dr. Kishore and his lawyers. So, you have all kinds of legalese coming in, and then at that point, Dr. Kishore realizes that this is constant. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and that's all that needs to happen. And he's unwilling to give up his practice, because as soon as he allows the Attorney General to dictate the terms, then they run the show. They essentially own the program, and they can dismantle the program. And that's what they want. They want to dismantle the program because it works. So let's move on to phase 3. The end of July 2011 until the fall of 2011. So he's in the trap now. He's getting into the trap. She goes into high gear. She manages to get the payments from Mass Health to be stopped. So all the payments from Mass Health to his company are stopped. No warning. This is on July 19th, 2011. So he has to take dramatic action. Okay, August 2011, he had to cut his staff by 50%. And then his attorney, Don Stern, is let go. Rather, he bailed out. He can see all the shenanigans that are being played by the Attorney General and how his client, in fact, can no longer be called his client. He's more like, the target of the Attorney General, and he bails out. So on September 20th, 2011, which is barely a little over a year after they got started, they arrest him at his house, Chestnut Hill, 33 squad cars.
33
Last siren
police
blasted.
cars?
Police cars. 33 police cars at his home, getting him out. So he's arraigned on one count on September 21st, and they ask for bail of $1.5 million, which he cannot pay. September 23rd, he's let go after his lawyers after the lawyers get their mediation in. And then October 6th, he's rearrested, this time on 31 more counts with more mail money. And this takes Dr. Kishore to jail. So October 8th and 9th, they agreed to let him go indefinitely, but with a GPS. Now they will take off the GPS in October 2014, so that's 3 years later, because of health reasons. So he had to be taken off the GPS monitor. Okay, so I've gone through 3 phases. Remember, I said there are 5 phases. I think it's important to make sure that there is one phase that is labeled as the digital extinction. They tried to promote the digital extinction of Dr. Kishore, and they went after his website from February 2011 until August. So you have 7 months of constant attacks, and then finally they managed to get the website out, the Wikipedia website. Phase 5. Phase 5 is not only are they going to do what I just said, delete the information available to people, but they're going to pile up disinformation upon disinformation. So it starts off when on September 23rd, 2011, there is a statewide public health emergency alert with respect to Dr. Kishore's sobriety maintenance program patients. In other words, there is an alert going out. These patients are not getting care. Beware, beware, beware. He cannot no longer take care of things. So because of that happening, the Attorney General goes on TV and says that now Dr. Kishore needs to account for $20 million in fraudulent billing. $20 million in fraudulent billing. And of course, this is crazy. But the fact of the matter is that at that point now, all the patients can no longer be treated by the sobriety program. Essentially, the whole business is collapsing. She's caused it to collapse. And so all these patients go on methadone. Victory. The methadone clinics are now winning. And in October 2011, no care is available to Dr. Kishore's former patients, several of whom died. Okay, so I'm wrapping up. Fall 2011, 2015, now spring 2015. There is on February 29th of 2013, there's a pre-trial conference. At that point, Dr. Kishore realized that the prosecution were reading from his emails. And they were using his private information that they had obtained without a warrant known to him, Dr. Kishore, or to his lawyers, and without his knowledge or even obviously his permission. So basically they were using information that they had secured through means not legal to build a case against him. So he concluded then, Dr. Kishore concluded that every aspect of his business dealings and his communication for his defense were totally compromised. The ruse of the Attorney General consisted in using information subsequently fed back to Dr. Kishore's attorneys. It only made sense if access to his email had been actually secured by a warrant obtained through false representation to a judge and without ever informing him, Dr. Kishore, or his lawyers. I want to quote Dr. Kishore. He says, my lawyers colluded to not do what was needed from me. Again, a quote, all specialty lawyers I ended up with hiring turned out to be court officers. So it's clear that Dr. Kishore is now in a bind. He wishes to, but he cannot obtain a replacement of his lawyers, his team. Ultimately, he tried to hire one attorney, Mr. Hessian. Mr. Hessian agreed at first, but then he was intimidated and subsequently backed out. So there was a trial date, April 6, 2015, which never happened because Dr. Kishore was railroaded into a plea deal. So subsequently, he's in jail, April 7th, 2015 until December 10th, 2015. And I need to add that for all this useless defense, he had to spend between $3 and $4 million on lawyers' fees.
So essentially what you're saying is, first of all, they violated his right to unreasonable bail by assessing millions of dollars. And then they violated his right of the Fourth Amendment, unlawful search and seizure, by using his emails, which they just grabbed. And then in trial or the pre-trial, it's like, oh, by the way, we have these emails. And no judge said, wait a minute, that did not happen. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, that's what transpires from the entire case. It seems that he's gradually put out of business, and the evidence that he has is, especially his clinics and his patients, are out of the way. They've been cleared. So no one can really say, what is it that he did, because it's only they that's accused him of things.
Sure.
Okay. No one can verify anything anymore. They've taken down his website, or the website that described his
So
success.
any of his patients, any of his success stories, everything that would point to adjudicating him it's gone.
It's been removed, yes.
Oh, so,
If you
okay,
look-
okay,
if-
now here we go, folks. Now, not only have we violated the unreasonable bail, we violated the Fourth Amendment unreasonable search and seizure. Now we violated the due process, it's called discovery. It's called discovery. It's the right of the defendant to go to the prosecutor and say, what do you have? Well, we have this. And then you give it to that defendant and they go through it. So what you're saying, so there's three things here.
At least, yes.
Thank you.
But plus destruction of evidence.
Well, there you go. Let's
Yeah.
do 4, 5.
Yeah,
Let's
destruction
keep
of
going
evidence
here,
seems to me, destruction of evidence seems to me is a very, very high level of dishonesty or even denial of essential rights. Yes, sir. The Department of Mental Health, I do not know the answer to this one. Maybe Dr. Kishore wants to respond in his name. I don't know. It's a damning situation that occurred because first of all the workers were forced. They stuck along as much as they could with him, but at some point they could see that there was a conspiracy, an enormous conspiracy to take him down, and they felt. They could no longer do their jobs. I mean, they might as well get out of the way, because then they could no longer essentially do what they were supposed to do. So they got out. Okay, but they know that it worked. They know it worked in a unique way because it was designed through figuring out what it is that needs to be done for these addicts. And the first week, as you know, it's vital to constantly be after them and treat these extremely severe symptoms. And when there's a relapse, then of course you also have to redo that. But then it's a monthly and constant way of being after them, and then it goes on for 1 year. So it's not exactly a fly-by-night type of operation. It's just a very constant, yearly program where the family is involved, the community is involved. It's a community work, really. It's not exactly a few bureaucrats that decide to, throw a few chemicals here and there, and then a few coaches for a week. It's not that. Okay, so I'm happy that you guys were here and came and learned about this thing. It's an amazing situation. You can become ambassadors for Dr. Kishore. You can bring more people. We'll come back maybe and continue this series. It's my first presentation of the case, so basically it's a dry run. Next time I'll have more slides and stuff, but it's amazing. It's really an amazing situation.
Dr. Gendre will be on the Meat and Potato Show, don't worry. We'll get him out there.
Thank you.